We had results this morning from Pfizer, Sanofi, and Shire, among other companies. It's generally been a very strong earnings season for the biopharma sector. And we'll start by looking at these companies. Pfizer and Sanofi both up a little bit in the pre-market trade. For Pfizer, it was a beat on both the top and bottom lines. They did slightly raise their full-year earnings guidance. They slightly lowered their revenue guidance for the year, mainly on foreign exchange reasons. Sanofi also was a beat, at least on the bottom line. Slight miss on revenue for the quarter, mainly driven by their vaccines unit, their rare disease drug unit, which they acquired with Genzyme a number of years ago, did look very strong. As for Shire, that company, of course, is waiting for its planned takeover by Takeda. Analysts saying this is a pretty expected quarter, a beat on both the top and bottom lines. Nothing should change there for the deal itself. Now, what we've seen in this earnings season has really been characterized by basically beats. It's been looking very strong, but also a lot of talk about drug prices. And of course, that going back to Pfizer really starting that conversation after President Trump called the company and got them to reverse their drug price increases that they were planning to take at the beginning of July that they'd actually announced. And here he announced in a tweet that he'd had that conversation with Pfizer's CEO and they were going to roll back their price hikes. After that, in almost every single big company's earnings call, you heard their CEOs give a pledge not to raise drug prices for the rest of the year or to keep it within inflation, things like that. Biogen was a notable exception from that. We talked with their CEO last week about why they didn't have that kind of pledge, and they said they don't think doing less of the same is really a fix to the problem. But the entire industry is really waiting to see what this drug price blueprint from the administration does. It looks very favorable to the drug industry, less favorable to the middlemen. And so they're kind of waiting to see what happens with that. And we'll wait to hear on the call today, especially from Pfizer, how did that conversation with President Trump go? People will also be listening for a lot of talk about M&A because, of course, Pfizer's tried to do a couple of giant deals in the last few years. We'll wait to see if they're going to do anything big.
So in other words, the pharma companies might be in a pretty decent position by getting credit for saying we're going to be holding the line on drug costs, but then maybe the rebates and all that other stuff can work in their favor.
Yeah, it does appear that way. It kind of looks like they're waiting for something that looks good for them from the government, and they don't want to do anything to make anybody mad before they see what happens.
I had great hope when President Trump had said what other countries do to us on this front is wrong. Because we, the United States, fund R&D for the rest of the world. Nearly everybody else in the world has some kind of price control mechanism, depending on how you look at it. And, you know, I don't understand why other wealthy countries can't help pay for our R&D. Is there anything that within this, I mean, they're always complaining about trade. I mean, this is such a crucial issue when it comes to trade. Are they going to stick by that? Do we have any sense that in the plan they're talking about that?
They have talked about using trade agreements to try to get other countries to pay more. How they actually get that to happen is unclear. And of course, they don't want to go to those kinds of price controls in the United States.
Right.
So bringing the prices down here are going to be done by other mechanisms, which won't be as across the board.